What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Engineers Without Filters podcast, episode 67. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson, and tonight, I can't remember if I had one last week or not, but I'm on the Truly train, just a regular Truly, not that lemonade bullshit that me and Dayton had a few weeks ago.
Bad shit.
It's not that good, but I'm on their tropical variety pack, so I got the raspberry lime right here. And you know what? Truly, straight 7. You know, like, not bad, nothing to write home about, very just solid seltzer. So I'd probably recommend.
See, Jacob, I actually went through and I made a tier list, like not as like a podcast talking point, but just to organize my own thoughts from my own, personal means.
Yeah.
And all right, so I put.
Sorry, is this brands or flavors within brands?
Brands.
Okay.
So then I sort of just averaged all of the flavors within a brand. So press.
Let's introduce everyone else first, and then we'll get to your tier list. I'm sorry. I just want to get through because I don't know how long it's gonna take.
People know who everyone is.
Joseph,
I don't know who I am. I'm Joseph, and I am drinking a Modest Dream Yard again. Top tier Minnesota brew.
Yeah, I tried it. It's really fucking good.
Drinking Oberon again for the 3rd week in a row.
And what's your name?
Solid pick.
I already said my name.
It cut out for us, but
Oh,
I think it was fine on
I'm
the
Gabe.
other recording.
Oh.
The audio people are gonna hear it twice because it's going through the other mic. But
And I'm Dayton, and I am also drinking Truly. Because
so now
for
give
me,
me this.
instead of being a straight 7 out of 10, Jacob, I put Truly in the A class.
Okay.
So, all right. So as usual tier lists go, it goes S class, A class, B class, C class, D class, and I tried to make this as close to a normal distribution as possible, because I mean, if you're not doing a normal distribution on this, I feel like it's just like you're not doing it correctly. Maybe that's just like my inner like engineer coming out or something. I don't know. But anyway, so press S class, the one and only S class for me. And that's for a myriad of reasons. One being the cans. The cans are really nice. The flavor's good. The price is decent. And just all those three combined to something really good.
Only 4% though, Dayton.
I don't care, dude. At this point, I'm not... Okay, sometimes I am drinking to get drunk. But for the most time, like, I'm drinking for flavor as well. Okay, I can afford flavor now.
You're not buying Natty Daddies every weekend anymore?
Dude, I haven't bought a Natty Daddy in so long. I might have to get one for this weekend, though.
I never want to buy a
nostalgia.
Natty Daddy again.
Fuck it, dude. I might have to this weekend, though. I don't know. We'll see. And then A-Class, Trulies and Bud Light Seltzers for different reasons. Trulies are better than Bud Light Seltzers, but Bud Light Seltzies are cheaper generally. And also, I think that they're easier to drink than Trulies are. And then B class, I have White Claw, H2 Roads, which is like a craft one from around here, Natty Light, and then High Noon. Where I don't know if any of you guys have had the last 3 or not, but
No,
I've
I'm
never
surprised.
had a High Noon. Never
I'm
heard of
surprised
it.
White Claw's that high.
it's because it really is middle of the pack, and like compared to the other ones that I'm about to list, I think you'll understand why. C class, Truly Lemonade. First sip is good, the remainder is shit. Aftertaste is garbage. They just taste fake.
They do.
Just, ugh.
I think I'd rather have the fake taste and the harsh taste of White Claw, though. Personally.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I haven't had a White Claw in a hot minute, so maybe I'm just...
Yeah.
Beer.
And then Vista Bay. Vista Bay is an Aldi brand seltzer. So, their seltzers, they have, I think, 2 different flavors. They have I think it's pineapple coconut, which is really good. And then they have a lemon lime, which is complete ass. And that one actually, that one drags it down to the freaking C class alone. And then D class is Corona Fresca. So I haven't had the regular Corona seltzers yet, but the Corona Frescas are similar to the Truly lemonades, but just worse. So just
Okay.
avoid them. Just don't even look at them. They don't even deserve the time of day.
All right.
So yeah, that's my incomplete tier list. Um,
So what's left? I mean, Corona, the regular Corona,
so
right?
I haven't had Bon and Vive or Vive.
Bon and Vive.
I
Bon and
haven't
Vive. Yeah.
I haven't had that one yet. I haven't had any of the Smirnoff ones. I haven't had Corona. I haven't had what are some Henry's? I haven't had Henry's.
Haven't heard of that one.
Um, I don't know.
Henry's has a hard seltzer because they do like the orange soda and the root beer, right?
Yeah, they've got a hard seltzer now.
Does Mike's have one? I feel like that'd be up their
Mm,
alley.
I don't know. I feel like they kind of like those sugary drinks though.
Yeah. Maybe when I drive out there, Dayton, I'll bring the Minnesota ones we've been talking about, the Bauhaus, Bolo, and the
Ooh,
Fulton.
I like
So you
that
can add it to
idea.
your tier list. I think I'll try to remember. I should be able to fit it in my packed car, but I'll have
Okay,
to do that.
okay, I like that idea. I dig
Yeah.
it.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. If you're watching on video, there's some notable things. One, Joseph and Gabe, it'll be the last time you see them with those backgrounds, because they're moving in together into a house this weekend.
Yeet.
And I cut all my hair off, so if you want to see that, hop on YouTube and check out the video. Yeah, like I said, it's episode 67. Thanks for tuning in, especially if you're watching on Twitch, twitch.tv/EWF_podcast. We record every Thursday night around 7 p.m. Eastern, or Central, sorry, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to tune in for a live recording, you can do that. We're also on Instagram and Twitter at EWF Podcast. And you can find our show every Mondays, all Mondays on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. So let's get into it. So first topic for tonight came to me today. So I was doing some anatomy homework, okay, and we're getting to the end of the semester, so we're getting to the last few systems of the body, which of course means the reproductive system. We're talking
Yeah.
vaginas, okay.
He said the PP words.
Yeah, it's basically just it's the gross anatomy, gross as in like macro, not disgusting. Gross anatomy of the male and female reproductive organs, which like whatever, fine. But it was weird because like I don't know if this is just a personal thing for me, but for some reason I just got very very like squeamish today, like reading through like all the inner workings of like the testicles and like all the ducts and glands and everything and like how it works. More the male side than the female side. The female side is more just like obviously unknown to us as much because we don't have them. Um, but I don't know. I was getting like a physical like squeamish reaction. So I wanted to ask you guys if there anything that you guys have encountered that gives you that like ugh, like like, feel like a shiver. Like I don't know. I know like sometimes people will say like if somebody's like, oh, I broke my wrist, you kind of like grab your wrist. You're like you can kind of like you're like more sensitive to that part of your body like briefly. Um, so maybe it's because like I only have one testicle, but like reading through all of like this stuff today about the male system, I'm just like, oh, like I don't want to think about this. Like I don't know. I was like feeling my parts like consciously, and I didn't like it, and it was just
I too feel
gross.
my
I'm
parts.
not a fan. Yeah.
Consciously.
So yeah, that was my experience today. But Joseph, I'm gonna throw it to you.
He's just about to take a sip of his beer. Are you like a waiter,
Ugh.
Jacob?
A big one for me is anytime I see anything happen to people's knees, or like
Mm,
if I see an X-ray of a knee, or like, so what has it been 3 years ago, 2 years ago now?
I think two
Yeah,
years
I
ago.
yeah I bruised my knee really, like I got a contusion on my knee. I was on crutches for like a couple weeks. It was a whole ordeal. I had to go to like the knee doctor a couple times, and like them moving around my kneecap made me sick. Or like they had like a model of the knee, and like you could mess with it, and it was horrible. It was the worst. Like it wasn't even my knee, but just like seeing it move was just
hmm
my knees hurt now. um, and I can pinpoint exactly when this started. Too, I went to a museum with my dad, and I don't know if you guys remember this traveling showcase that they used to have was Bodies Revealed. Were just a bunch of cadavers
Mm.
and stuff. And like right as you walk in, there's these two, like a male and a female, like just skinned, right? Like you could see their muscle and like everything, and their kneecaps had just folded down,
Yep.
and it was the most disgusting thing. Like I was just staring at it, and like I had to sit down. And like I don't know, I've between like skiing and running and snowboarding and hiking, like my knees are just fucked. So like I already have bad knees, and just seeing just knees, I don't like it. I don't have a problem with elbows or like any other joint. It's
Yeah.
strictly knees.
Well, the
So
knees
yeah,
are
that's
pretty. They're an interesting joint because like they have what is it like the. It's like a simple machine basically, and then like your kneecap is
yeah,
a simple machine, and that
yeah.
it makes this thing
There's
your like lower leg can swing a lot easier.
yeah, the way the kneecap pulls over the top, like the reason you have a kneecap pretty much is yeah, so it can like pull easier.
Yeah, like what's the
And
word? It's like mechanical, um, not assistance.
advantage.
I think that's yeah, I think that might be the right word for it.
But yeah, it's stuff. Ugh. It's cool. It's neat. It's pretty fucking neat. But man, I hate it. Hate it to my bones.
Literally.
Yeah. Um. Other than that, in movies, getting stabbed in hands, mostly
Oh,
hands.
Oh,
like
like
through the
the
back
through
of
the
your
hand
hand.
shit.
Yeah, like I remember
Ooh.
in high school, I went on a date with a girl, and we saw Divergent, which is a one of those shitty teen
Yep.
post-apocalyptic movies. And at like the end scene, one of the characters throws like a knife, and it goes right in between like her hand, like right between her two fingers, and I jumped like out of my seat and grabbed my hand because I was just like watching it go through her. It was the worst.
But what about like stabs anywhere else in the body? Like
Oh,
the
I don't give
stomach,
a fuck.
you're okay with it, but it's
It's
just the
it's
hand thing.
it's hands and knees, and I don't know why.
Joseph does
Interesting.
not like appendages.
There's
Yeah,
that scene in Tomb Raider the game where like in the intro she's like sliding down some like shit and she lands and it
Oh.
goes through her leg and that fucking
Yeah, I don't like that. Anytime you
like
can see the other end of it coming out,
yeah.
really.
I don't
But
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, Gabe, whenever it's like that industrial like piping or industrial like steel
the
rods
rebar.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
going
gets
through
stabbed in
shit.
rebar. I remember.
Cause you
Yeah.
know that shit's dirty. Like you know
Oh
it, that
yeah.
shit
Yeah.
is not like
What? That's
clean.
sanitary.
No, it happened to her twice. It happens in the opening scene, and then she's like going down a waterfall, and some like rock goes through her or some shit. It's just like, stop! You did it once. You don't need to do it again.
Yeah, it's like that would literally annihilate anyone.
Yeah, of
Like
course she
just
walked off. I mean, video game logic, dude. She just waited to heal.
yeah, just hide under cover and wait for your health to
Yeah,
regenerate.
hid in the bushes.
Joseph, have you seen Fight Club?
Yes.
Does the chemical burn on the hand scene freak you out?
No, it's mostly stabs. Chemical burn, like I'm not happy about it,
Yeah,
but
it's not gonna stick with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I know what scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that doesn't really bother me. It's stabs or just
Okay.
knees in general.
Gabe, what about you?
Uh, so besides like the obvious, every guy like hearing or seeing someone get hit in the balls and doing the communal groan.
Yeah.
I think that's just
Ooh.
every guy feels that on some level. I was looking at this subreddit today at lunch actually, and it's called "Win Stupid Prizes," and it's just the premise is people doing really dumb fucking shit, and they get rewarded with really stupid prizes like pain or like just I don't know. Uh, that shit makes me cringe pretty fucking hard, just because like, I mean, there's one with this lady. She's in probably middle school or high school. she locks herself in her locker, but it's not her locker, so like she doesn't have the combination to get out, and her friends can't get her out.
Oh my
And she keeps
god.
recording, and it's just like it's so cringy to see her go from like, "Ooh, I'm locking myself in," to like her like sobbing, like, "Get me out!" Or like, there's another one of like this kid, he's putting gasoline on the fire because he's a teenager. And his initial response when he starts getting caught on fire is to spin around and put the gas like on his friend, and his friend starts burning. It's just like shit like that makes me cringe so hard because it's just like, why are it's gonna hurt? Like, why are you doing it?
Because they
There's
panic,
another
dude.
YouTuber who's like literally his whole bit. I look at his channel because it got linked to the subreddit. He just jumps in painful shit. Like he'll jump in barbed wire. That's
you're
his whole
talking
bit.
you're talking about Juggalo.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
insane
yeah.
clown
He
posse.
stands
dude.
on a
It's
platform,
like,
says some dumb
whoop,
shit.
whoop.
Yeah, whoop whoop, takes off his shirt and fucking jumps into some painful situation. That shit it's like an intellectual cringe because it's like, why? Why do you think this is a good idea? On top of like the pain, like when there's the physical reaction, it's just like it's gonna hurt, but I'm still watching. Like I gotta see how this plays out.
Yeah.
So that would be it.
I also have a physical reaction to cringe. It's a different kind of cringe for me. It's when somebody is like trying their hardest to do something, but it's just bad. Like often, it's like people recording themselves singing is like a great example. When they're
Oh.
like obviously like so into it and like they're like trying so hard, but it's just fucking terrible, and I have to walk away. Like my body cannot handle it. Like it's so I feel so embarrassed for them, and it's just I can't. Whenever somebody's embarrassing themselves and not realizing that, my
Oh
body
yeah.
can't handle it. Like I have to
Dude,
like walk away.
I'm the same exact way. Like I'm pretty sure I watched this video of this chick like running through the halls at her high school and like meowing like a cat and shit like that. And I'm just like, oh my god, dude, like Jesus, turn that off.
All of those, it's a YouTube channel that I sent over to Dayton once called All Gas No Breaks, and this guy just goes to conventions and like lets them talk, but it's like weird. So he did like a brony one, or like which was surprisingly normal, and he would do like other ones like man, he would go to like a porn
You went to like
convention.
Burning
Maybe, like,
Man.
a father and a son like went together, and it's just like, how do you not realize what you're saying is so fucking gross, or like so
Yeah.
And sometimes I think what makes it so cringy for me is like, especially when it's like nerdy cringe,
Yeah.
it's like I can see a little bit of myself in it, and it's just like, you're reminding me of myself and I hate it.
Yep. And like I feel like an asshole because I know like they're trying their hardest and they're trying to be like
Right.
genuine,
But you want
but it's
nothing
just
to do with them.
I know I can't handle it. Like I feel so bad. Like someone needs to tell them like something. I don't know, but I can't do it. It's bad.
Yeah, I shut down. I don't know how to handle it. I just kind of stand there like, okay.
Hmm.
I just like
Dayton.
physically cringe. That's my response. I don't know if it's the appropriate response, but that's what I do. Or uncontrollably laugh. That works too.
That's probably worse. That's probably worse than physically cringing.
But is it
Yeah.
like an uncomfortable laugh, like
No, it's like a full on like what the fuck? Like
Actually, now I think about that, I've definitely seen you do that in front of other people.
dude,
Yeah.
dude,
Like
it's 'cause
someone
it's
is clearly being awkward, and I just kind of like shy away, and you just start giggling.
It's just like, oh no,
like-
Dayton, stop.
But half the
You've got
time,
You got a specific laugh for it too.
but it'll feed
like
him
an-
because he's like, "Oh, I'm being funny," and then they keep going. And, it's like,
and then it just
"Stop."
fucking feeds me, dude. I'm just like
Positive
laughing
feedback
my
loop
ass
in
off
the
at these
worst
fucking like
way.
incredulous people. Like I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? But I like it. Keep doing it, but at the same time, turn that shit off. It's like playing tug of war.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Going back to the squeamish stuff, Dayton, do you have anything that makes your skin crawl?
yeah. So it is. So I like watching fights, but I absolutely hate seeing people get hurt in fights. Like if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I like seeing like high energy stuff and like people like beating the snot out of each other, but like when people are like their faces are all like bloody, or even worse, when they like slam people on concrete, like
Oh,
holy shit, dude. Like like there's a subreddit that I follow called r/fight porn, and like a lot of the time it's just like two high schoolers just like going at it, and like it's just fucking hilarious because I get double dose of cringe there. It's like I get to
they
see
don't
like
know
the
how to
people.
fight. They're just like side punching, like
Yeah.
just wailing like this.
Yeah, or better yet, like they like pin someone up against the wall and like they're doing some like weird like grapple shit with them, and it's just like
Yeah.
I just don't know what the hell's happening, so I just laugh my ass off then. And then usually it ends with a slam because that's like the most like brute force method that they know. Um, so it's like I get a double dose of that. But the slams don't make me laugh. Those make me like freaking hit the backspace button or like get out of
Yeah.
that
Like, 'cause you
video
can feel that
ASAP.
pain.
Because like I see their
It's funny,
feet.
like you always want to watch a fight until you definitely don't.
Yeah.
Like you're like, this will be a good video, and you're like, oh no, no, this is too real. This is too real for me. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I see the person's like feet get lifted off the ground and I'm just like, bye. Like I don't need to see someone's like freaking neck get shattered getting slammed into
Yeah.
the ground.
God.
Or in like the UFC where like they like I've seen a few videos where like they go to like check a kick with like their leg and then it just shatters their shin. Like I don't know if you guys have seen those videos where like they check it and then their shin just like collapses, or when like their ankle breaks and then like their foot's like sticking at like a weird angle, like that shit.
Dude, there's some videos of that with like basketball players too, where they like come down from a jump and they land ever so weirdly, and their leg just snaps like a fucking toothpick. It's
Ugh.
so fucking gross.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's why I like fighting, like boxing movies, because you get the cool fights without like the real consequences. You
I
know?
don't know. I feel like those are too theatric for me.
Yeah, but like that's what I want. I want that like that cinematography, and you really get to see the punches land. Unlike in like a high school fight, you're seeing people like flail their arms. You don't really know like what's hitting what and if it's actually like doing anything.
That's part of the
But if you watch
mystery
like
though.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
there's
watch
definitely some where you like think a guy's gonna lose, and then he just straight cold, like someone gets knocked out in one punch.
yeah.
That's what's so crazy. Is like obviously we haven't been in a whole lot of fights in our life, but some people just like get knocked and they're done. Like just they're like not conscious for a while.
Yeah,
There's
dude,
one,
lights out.
and this is back. It's like the movie side things, but there's one shot in the movie Creed where Michael B. Jordan gets absolutely decked, and it's amazing. Like he's like going up to this guy, and the guy just socks him right in the face. He's down, out cold. That's it. Like it's all like one camera tracking shot. It's fucking awesome. Um, so I don't know. I prefer that side of things than the reality.
You don't like, I mean, maybe that stems from like me seeing my own face like super fucked up after I crashed my mountain bike. But like I don't think, I guess it might not be like I don't think it's like the blood aspect of it. I'm pretty sure
hmm
it's like the permanent brain damage aspect of it. Like you
Yeah.
can like in the picture of me when I like fucked my face up, you can see that there's like nothing going on between my eyes.
Oh, but
Like,
you were
like-
adamant that things were going on. That was the funniest bit.
Lights on, nobody's home.
Yeah, like I think that it's that aspect, like the potential for like permanent damage. Cuz like, when you're just like wrestling with someone, like the chances of having like permanent damage to you are like so low. But like
Mhm.
if you're fighting on concrete, like you're an idiot. Because like if you get knocked out, you're going to get concussed and like have some
Yeah.
fucking brain damage from that, and then slams are even worse.
Suplex.
Dude, I remember watching these fight videos in high school where like these guys doing like these backyard WWE shit.
Dude, that shit sounds legit.
And like we couldn't tell if they were like fake or not. Like I don't know, it was just like
Even
these
well, it probably was fake, but people still get hurt really bad. Like
Uh-huh.
if you're not doing it right, you can get really hurt.
I don't know, because we were like, oh, like at one point this guy picks up a tree branch and like swings it. It's like, oh, haha, whatever.
Mhm.
And then they had like a pile of like weapons, but they weren't like swords or anything. Like there's like a box cheese grater. The guy
Oh.
picks up this cheese grater, and I'm like, oh, what's he gonna do? Ha ha ha. he holds it against the other guy's forehead and starts dragging it, and you start seeing this blood come down. We're like, oh, this isn't fake. This isn't
What
fake.
the fuck?
These guys are beating the shit out of each other right now. Oh,
I wish
Fuck
I knew
that.
more about wrestling, because I know people used to do that. Like before, like it's like I know, like 2020, like these days, like all WWE is rated PG, so there can't be any blood. Sometimes it happens on accident. But back in the day, people used to do that. I know there was one wrestler who actually did like cut his forehead, like consistently as like part of his like entrance. So like
Really?
it might have been emulating that. But I know, yeah, like one of the guys I followed, Greg Miller, used to do that shit back in middle school. His friends had like a backyard wrestling league, and they would like, do dumb shit, and like, yeah, they would get hurt sometimes because they're dumb kids, and you're doing shit that's dangerous if you don't pull it off correctly. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, but the key is whether there's malintent, and
yes, yes.
that was what we couldn't figure out until the cheese grater came out. So they had malintent.
It's all fun and games until
I was
someone
gonna
pulls out a
say
cheese
that.
grater.
Dude, I could totally see these people like stealing some of those like long fluorescent light bulbs from school
Oh.
and then just like
Oh.
smacking them on each other.
Using
Like,
the bats.
Fuck.
That was like, did you watch the Eddie Burback video that came out recently, Joseph, that he did for Comedy Central?
I don't think so, no.
So one of the guys we follow, he just did like a dumb high school stories video where his friends were doing that shit where they were hitting each other with the fluorescent light bulbs.
Oh, fuck that.
And he's like, they're going to a party, and there's a girl he liked there. I'm like, this will impress her if I get hit by one of these things. So his friend goes to smack him with it, and he like lets go at the perfect moment where it hits his like right arm directly in the middle of the bulb, breaks in half perfectly, so that each side like rotates around his body. So it cut his arm, his chest back, and then they reconnected on his other arm. So like on both ends and on either side of his chest, and he was just bleeding everywhere. And he's like, "This is a bad plan."
No shit.
not gonna lie, dude, that's some shit that I probably would have done in high school if I had access to those bulbs.
Do you guys get grossed out by like bodily fluids like blood, vomit, poop, pee? I don't know. Is any of that like
Vomit
gross you out at
definitely is
all?
not fun.
Vomit if it's in person.
It's a,
On a
yeah, if it's in
movie?
person.
Whatever.
It can be a chain reaction. That's what, like, I'm not personally one that, like, I can see it and be like, that's fucking gross. But I've heard of stories where people look at it and then they do it and then other people do it and it's a whole mess.
Mm-hmm.
And not a fan. Like in
I-
high school, our band, we would play in our uniforms in the gym like once a year and we'd play like 12 songs back to back. It was kind of like, it's just a really hot room. We're in like full band uniforms.
Yeah.
Every year, someone passes out
Yep.
and someone pukes. And the person who pukes, there's always a person a row in front who pukes as well. And it's just like some years is better than others. But there was one that was like 4 people. It was just they were
Oh.
just passing
fucking-
out and puking. And it was just fucking
Just
gross.
fucking puke
Probably
into the
'cause it's-
tuba or something. I don't know.
It's hot in there, so the smell just gets worse.
Well, that's that too.
Yeah.
And you're
Well, I think it's
standing
heat
still.
stroke.
You can't move.
Yeah, I think it's heat stroke because I think isn't that a
Yeah,
symptom of heat stroke is puking?
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Probably, yeah.
And like
Yeah.
they're very like strict on you standing still because it's a look, right? So
Mhm.
you stand still for 12 fucking songs, you're gonna be tired.
Yeah.
And you're in a hot ass uniform.
And same
I've-
shit happens in our high school band, but it's Memorial Day. They do a parade, and then we do like a service thing at a cemetery. And every year people pass out and they're like, "Bring water, drink water," but you know they're in full uniform, and it's Memorial Day, so it's end of May. It's starting to get hot out. Everyone's used to the fucking cold winter that we just had. It's a bad time.
Dude, and you know that there's at least 3 people that have just been chugging Monster Energy drinks.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who don't even know what water is. Like-
Well, those are the people who fucking passed out. And it's always
Yeah.
the people who are like,
Mhm.
I don't need to bring anything. I have a sweatshirt underneath. Like,
Yeah, freaking idiots. I think with puking for me, because it's one of like those things that I categorize as like not serious. I just start laughing because I'm just like, this is fucking ridiculous right now.
When you're puking or when someone else is puking?
When someone else is puking, like
Okay.
I may have told this story on the podcast already, but I was going to a small island off the coast of New Zealand, and it took like an hour and a half or so to get there. And I was going there with one of my friends who he gets seasick like really badly, and
Hmm.
we were out on this on like this strait basically for like an hour in rough seas, and they were I think like 13 to 15 feet waves, and we were in like this catamaran, and
Fuck
this
that.
captain dude, he just did not give a fuck. He just like crested the waves and just came crashing down, and there's like a whole bunch of Asian tourists on the boat, and they were all like I won't say all, like probably half of them were like in like the cabin, except they were like up at the front like holding onto the railing and like just getting absolutely launched when they when they would like we would come down off the crest of the wave into the trough. They would like slam down, and then they would get airtime as like we got like up top, and then like they would lose their footing. It was fucking hilarious, except then like after like 20 minutes of that, like half like the people who were standing up there went and like sat down, and one of them happened to be like sitting in front of me, and I just see him sit down and put his head between his legs, and I'm
Oh.
just like, oh man, this guy's not having a good time right now. And like me
It's
like
also the
having
worst thing you can do.
oh yeah, it is, it's actually is like the worst thing. Like you want to have your head up and like look at the horizon if anything.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And like me, like at that point I had been working at the research center on boats for like I don't know, like a year and a half at this point I think, and I was just like, I don't give a fuck, like I've been out in worse, and so I'm just having a freaking good old time, and there's like this guy, like the guy who put his head between his legs, we just hear him just like throw up. And then my
Yep.
friend, I look over at my friend, and he's not having a good time, and I just start laughing. And I'm just like, dude, you better not end up like that guy. And then this guy, he like the guy who was puking in front of me, goes and grabs like a bag, and he tries to like puke in the bag, but he misses it and pukes on his pants. And at this
Oh.
point, I'm like actually laughing out loud at this guy. And then, meanwhile, dude, my friend, he was not having it. He didn't find the humor in it at all. Um, but but yeah,
I'll be
so
honest, if I was about to puke, you started laughing at me, that would make me puke like faster. Like I was.
And it's funny that you say that because I definitely laugh in really uncomfortable situations too, or like even gross situations. And I remember when you hit your face, because I was recording on the mountain bike
uh,
jump. You hit your face. I start laughing so hard. It was like nervous laughter. It's like this isn't happening. And I'm like, you okay? And then you had the lights out, nobody home look. I was like, oh my god! I just like the whole time, and uh,
you just flip the switch from being laughing your ass off to, oh, okay, I need to actually be
yeah. And
serious for
then there's a
this.
moment like, okay, I had to take care of you because you're like, first you're like, is my bike okay? And then the second that you're like, how's my face look? And that's when you got the photos because I took it and showed it to you. I remember like at one point I was like, okay, this is actually happening. I need to get his ass to my car so we can like take the fucking hospital.
Yeah, yeah. I rode my bike back though, so.
Yeah, but you also didn't know what tomorrow, the next day was. Like as we were biking, I was like, "Do you know what we're doing this weekend?" Because we were driving down that weekend together. And you're like, "I don't even know what day it is." The whole ride, I'll never fucking let you live it down. You're like, "I don't have a concussion though." I'm like, "Yes, you do." And then the doctor at one point was like, "It's like it may not be a concussion." She said may not. And for the next 20 minutes while his scan was going through or whatever, he's like, I don't have a concussion, Gabe. You fucking lied.
I remember
He
you.
back, and he goes, yeah, so you have a concussion. He's like, fuck.
I remember you guys like told us in like our Snapchat or whatever, and Dane, you're like, no, Gabe's lying. I don't have a concussion.
Yeah.
And then like after a couple minutes, we're like, oh my god, Dane, are you okay? La la. And then Dane, you just respond with, doctor just came back. I'm sorry, Gabe.
We're very out of it. But the initial reaction was straight, this is hilarious because this isn't real.
Yeah, Yeah, but I think that's my two modes when it comes to those things. Like puking, I laugh. If it's like blood or anything like serious like that, then I'm like serious like right away. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. Like I
Yeah.
generally don't get squeamish. I think it's like a panic reaction probably where it's like, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm gonna do it, and then I can relax after it's all finished. But
Do you laugh when you almost get in a car accident? Because I definitely
no,
do.
usually I just get like obscenely angry at the person.
Yeah, I mean that happens. But like, there was the one time I was driving in the UP and I hit a patch of black ice and I spun out by myself, and it was terrifying. 'Cause it was also on a bridge.
Also,
Mm.
didn't you have your spare tire on that was a different size
Yeah,
than
so I
the other
just got
three?
the car and I didn't know that. So they put the spare on, which was like 2 inches different in diameter. So like the way it hit the bridge, like I don't know, one wheel just didn't catch. So I just spun. I did like two 360s. And I just remember thinking at the time it was very like a hyper focused slow motion time thing where
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
you just never forget that memory of like, okay, there's two guardrails, there's nobody in the other lane. I gotta somehow not hit anything.
Hmm.
I just got in the car, and luckily it was probably more luck than it was skill. Let's be real. Like I didn't hit anything, but like I drove, and I stopped. The first thing I did was pull over so I didn't get hit, and I just like kind of nervously laughing, like I could have died.
This is fine.
Yeah, I think I compensate like fear and like cringe. Even I think they kind of
You
combine.
kind of have to though, because if you don't, you'll like never get in a car again. You know,
Yeah.
like I've
Oh, the
had,
last 45 minutes back were the scariest driving I've ever done, and it was
yeah,
fine after that.
yep, yeah, I've had a few, more than a few close calls. A good chunk of those were my fault, but I'm thankful I've not gotten any accidents. But yeah, like you're right. Like the rest of the drive, you're like hyper focused, and then after like a day or two, you're like back to normal.
Mhm. You lose your confidence. It's like when you eat shit on a mountain bike or snowboard. It's like,
Yeah,
or skiing too. It's like, okay, do I know how to do this?
yeah, you get in your own head about it. Yeah. Well, speaking of gross things, Dayton, why don't you transition us to our second topic?
Yeah, I want to talk about how fucked up middle school is. Like, there's a lot of different facets of this. You can look at it from a lot of different perspectives. Um,
But
We
but
talk
I
Joe,
about
would
this
say,
so much off the podcast, dude.
what?
So we talk about this so much off the
How
podcast.
fucked up middle school is?
Yeah.
but if you think about it, it makes sense. You take that weird transition part of your life,
Mm-hmm.
you throw all those kids together in a separate building, and you keep them away, right? You're in
Yep.
elementary school, it's like, okay, weird shit's starting to happen. All right, send them off to middle school. When they get to high school, they're starting to level back out, and everything's like, and then you can re-enter society.
It's a
That's how I see
So
middle school.
puberty
before we get in,
concentration camp.
Exactly.
yes, before we
That's
get
a
into
good,
it,
good,
I
good
wanna
observation,
I
Dayton.
wanna go around and say what your guys' like grades were for middle school because I know it can vary by like area. Like for me, my middle school was sixth, seventh, and eighth.
Mine was just seventh and eighth.
I had sixth, seventh, and eighth.
Mine was sixth, seventh, and eighth as well. Except now it is fifth, sixth, seventh, and
Yeah,
eighth.
that's how it is now.
Really.
Oh, really? Interesting.
When I was there, it's just seventh and eighth.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with Joseph where it's like the whole point of middle school is to keep all like the kids who are going through puberty in one location and figure their shit out, and then by the time they get to high school, they can actually learn things. Because everything you learn in middle school, you relearn in high school. And then yeah, I know like if you learn it a second time, it's like easier, but like there's nothing you learn in middle school you never learn again, right? So it's just like it's just a ruse, man. It's a ruse for you to
You're not
I
wrong.
never
like
learned
figure shit
origami
out.
again. I had an origami class in middle school.
That is true. Middle school is the only time I wrote a check.
You've
Mm.
never written a check since
I've
then?
never needed to.
I don't even have a checkbook.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
have a
that's right. I
checkbook.
took care of everything for you guys in college.
Oh, wow.
Oh!
Dude,
Thanks,
we
mommy.
definitely did the bills when you were gone in New Zealand. It's not like we were inept.
That guy at Aldi rolls up and pays with a checkbook. He just whips it out of his holster and like, oh yeah, what's that?
Hell no, dude, I
Holds up
don't do
the
that.
entire line for no reason.
Meanwhile, I'm using the Google Pay terminal, just fucking tapping my phone, looking like
I
a
started
cool
just tapping my card.
badass.
That's fun.
I
Mine
should,
doesn't have the tap. I
I
just
should
use
set
the
that up
NFC
on my phone. I don't think I have that yet.
It's really nice, especially at gas stations.
But yeah, middle school fucking sucks. I mean, we've definitely said that on the podcast before, but like, I don't know anybody who disagrees with that sentiment. You know, I've never met somebody who's like, I peaked in middle school. You know, like it's
I
just.
mean, I know people that have peaked in middle school, whether they'll admit it, but
Middle school was, without a doubt, the worst years of my life. Which, like, I'm only 22, so like, not a lot to pick from. But if I had to, those 2 years fucking sucked.
I don't
Is there any
know.
think-
particular
I think
like
that's
thing
a-
you want to talk about, Dayton? Like an angle or
I
like when you think of middle school, what do you think of first?
I think of uh drama. And by drama I mean like all these kids going through puberty and acting like it's the literal end of the world, and the parents trying to be like, "Oh, it's okay, honey, like it'll be fine," and everything like that, and the kid just like fucking overreacting. And then, oh my God, especially for us, because I feel like when we were in middle school, it was the first time that it was common for middle schoolers to start getting phones. Like I feel like
Yeah,
with the people who were in high school when we were in middle school, they started getting phones when they were like in high school, or like maybe like early high school. But like when I went to middle school, like everyone had a phone, and I feel like that just like
I had a
intensified.
flip phone, but I had a phone.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
or like
it's
but
still a
you
phone.
could
Razor
still text
slide.
people.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so I feel like that just like intensified the drama, because then it wasn't just happening in an 8 hour window during the day. It was happening around the clock, year
Yeah, and like
round.
that's when people started getting Facebooks.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
also everyone had a
IM
phone
messaging.
and an iPod Touch.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Oh
an
yeah.
iPod
That's
Touch.
the only way to do it.
Yeah. Like and on the on the bus ride every day, people were on their playing games with their iPod Touches. That's what I was doing because I was such a shit texter. Like I remember a lot of my middle school was like agonizing about how my friends were always texting girls. I'm like I just wasn't because I did first of all didn't talk to any girls really, and two I'm like I don't even know how to do that. Like how what are you saying to them? Like I don't understand. Like teach me your ways.
Which words are you using?
You're saying like you just text them hey and then you talk for 4 hours. I don't understand how that's. I'm still kind of like that to be honest, but that was a lot of middle school for me.
I feel like middle school for me was, I don't know, it was like extremely weird, because this isn't like related to like my personal experience, but more like an observation that I had when I was in middle school. And that was like you had, like the quote unquote like popular group, who were like mainly like the really good athletes and stuff like that or whatever. Um, and then depending on which sports team a person made for that one year, they would become like a popular kid, like almost like a tryout for them. And I don't know, it was just pretty interesting to like watch, because like you would see like a rise to power with like a nerdier kid who made like the A team for like basketball or something like that. And then for that one year he would be friends with these people, and then after that, like, just
The fall.
weren't friends with them. I don't know, it was interesting.
Hmm. I'm trying to think back. I feel like cliques didn't really form until high school, but I might just be misremembering. Because I feel like middle school we were all still kind of equals. Like people had like their friend groups and stuff, but it never seemed like I don't remember there being like a quote unquote popular group
We
necessarily.
were living in a facade.
I probably just
Yeah,
misremembering, honestly.
they're the same groups that were in high school. I can trace back exactly to middle school.
Yeah.
It was pretty much the same.
Yeah, I
like,
think
Everyone was
same.
just going through more shit at the time. That's all
I
it
think
Yeah.
it was like a time of civil unrest, in the fact that like some people were swapping groups and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I
A
think
lot of hormones, a lot of boners.
a lot of bonners, yeah.
I have one
You have
story I
one?
no, I have one right now, guys. I have a story that I always
Show
think
the
of
video, the listeners,
when I
watchers.
think of middle school, and it's okay. Okay, keep in mind, middle school logic, okay? So there was this whole thing called scooping going on back in the day.
Oh yeah, dude. You.
I think it originally started as a much worse practice where guys were like scooping girls' breasts, but of course it devolved into guys scooping each other guys' breasts, you know? So guys would just come up to you and just scoop, you know, and just hit you, you know, right.
Bean dip, eat the chip.
Yep,
That-
That's the
bean
one I
dip, eat the
remember.
chip.
That's the one I remember.
So this was a very popular thing to do back in the day. And some of the more brazen dudes among their friends would actually start scooping their balls. Scoop some of that action, right? But I'll never fucking forget. Okay, there was one dude who came to school one day with an ice cream scoop and was using that to scoop people. It was fucking hilarious. And then I remember the next day, the principal had to make an announcement about it. He's like, "All right, we're done. We're done with scooping. No more scooping each other. None of like this. We're done." You know, it was so fucking funny. But yeah, I'll never forget that kid who brought an ice cream scoop to school.
Fucking funny.
That's like legend status, honestly.
He was one of those lights on nobody's home kind of kids. But goddamn, that kid was funny.
Dude, that kind of makes me think of like, all right, so now that 3 of the 4 of us are in the workforce now, like imagine in like 5 years, it's your task to wrangle all of these middle school students as a principal of a middle school.
I would fucking hate
Fuck
myself.
that.
Like, can
I
you
would
can
hate
you just
myself.
like that just seems like so like
Impossible.
far-fetched and like
Yeah.
awful and like my actual worst nightmare that like I don't understand how these people do this. Like
Yeah.
thinking back to middle school and thinking back to the principal and the vice principal that we had and how much I fucking hated them because they were just assholes and twats. Like it's all right. So I'll say it's understandable that they're assholes and twats because of who they're
Yeah, they
dealing
deal
with on a
with
daily basis. But
Yeah.
also, they should know better. Like they're adults. Like they shouldn't let the middle schoolers get to them. I feel like though.
Theoretically.
I feel like though it's kind
I
of
feel
like
like
the
it wears down on you after.
Yeah, I feel like it's kinda
how
like
long
the-
had they been the middle school principal? You know,
a long time at this point. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of related to this Rocket League phenomenon that I've experienced where if you're all right, so let's say you're playing at like a high level, right? And then you go and you play against someone who's at a low level, you stoop down to their level. You physically cannot stay. You cannot keep the high
You're
ground when you have someone chipping at your heels. Like it's just not possible. And I think that's what
Interesting.
happens with all these admins at at middle schools. I think they just succumb.
yeah, I feel like you just get like shitty like middle school responses. Hey, do your homework. Like shit like that. It's like you just after years, like years of hearing the same shit.
And
Oh
dude,
my
it's
God.
got to be so much worse now just because of TikTok and
Oh,
just
yeah.
and smartphones where they progress to like I can't even imagine what it's like to be a middle school teacher right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be hell.
Yeah.
Everything's a meme. Everything's a TikTok or
Every
whatever.
kid's trying to be famous, like being a YouTube, personality shit. Like,
doing-
But I feel like teachers have always been mocked in middle school though. Like
Oh, yeah.
if you
yeah, but
you
then
were
they have
anything,
a camera in their face, like, blah, like all that
yeah, probably
bullshit.
not.
Like,
Probably
get
not.
out of
But
here.
I guess it happened in, like at
Someone
least
with a
for me.
camcorder, in the 90s.
You can hear the tape whirring like as it's recording.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
I feel like that would actually be like funny though because it's just like there's not many of them around at that point, whereas like now it's just like everyone has a phone,
Yeah.
so it's lost its novelty.
All right, go back in time to when we were in middle school. Bring a camcorder and egg the teacher on. That's what we
Oh
gotta
God, dude.
do.
To
Just
do
thinking-
what though?
I
Do
don't
like
know.
a Fortnite dance?
Get a reaction.
I'm like thinking back to the teachers that I had, and like there's probably only like one of them that would have been like cool with that. Like the rest of them would have been like, what? Like, or even worse, they would have just
Taking
like,
it away.
yeah, taken it away and like continued on with their draconian rule.
Dude,
I hated
middle school was the best because I remember, like,
It was the
I don't like,
best.
well, I say the best. It's funniest to me because, like, in like elementary school, right, you always write with a pencil. Like, I had teachers that, like, if you had a mechanical pencil in their class, they would take it away. Like, they would not allow it. It
Really?
was the dumbest shit ever. So then, like, in middle school, it's like, ooh, I could use a mechanical pencil. And that was when I started writing with a pen. And some teachers, like, hated the fact that I would write with a pen. And it's like, grow the fuck up. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so funny to get upset about what writing utensil I'm using. I don't know. I just remember, like,
Dude, did you have
oh,
people
this teacher.
force you use cursive? That shit was so annoying.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, in like third grade.
Well, yeah, when I
Yeah,
was
that
fifth or
learning
yeah, we were
it.
like
sixth
learning
grade,
it.
we had to
Yeah.
use cursive.
No, not in middle school. I never had it, but I remember like some teachers like,
Yeah,
you
some were
can't
like,
use your pen in this class. You got to use a pencil. It's like, come on.
It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, I don't
Dude,
know.
I was the number 2 pencil until I got to college. I was that kid who'd get up in the middle of class and go over in the sharpener like
The hand,
oh.
loud ass hand sharpener.
And like you knew which ones were good, which were bad. You know which classrooms had like the newer ones. You know that would
They had
fuck up your pencil or
the
not.
sharpened bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember distinctly because I used one all the way through high school, number 2 pencils, and I got to college and like my first engineering class, we had like the engineering rules textbook or whatever, and it said in there like you have to use a mechanical pencil. Using a wooden pencil is objectively wrong and inferior. Like mechanical pencil is superior in every way. I'm like,
It
all right, I
is.
guess I gotta switch. I mean, and I get it now, but I still got some nostalgia for the number 2 pencil.
Yeah,
I don't
dude,
think I've used a wooden pencil maybe a couple times in high school. I think not since sophomore year of high school.
that's like you use at least for me, I always used a wooden pencil when I was out in like the freaking hallway, like begging for scraps if I didn't have a pen or a pencil.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
please, sir, can you give me a pencil?
And it's like just a half a
Yeah, it's
pencil.
like a
It's
little
one of those
stub.
one of those shitty like cheap dollar store
With the wrap, with the
pencils.
plastic wrap
The
on it,
plastic
and the
wrap.
freaking
Yep.
hard as a rock eraser that literally just tear the paper.
Dude, I know exactly what
It
kind
just
of pencil
spreads
you
the thing around.
Like, I'm
the
pretty sure if
lead.
I just like licked the freaking graphite off the paper, it'd probably turn out better than using that eraser.
Watch
I-
those.
I always like typing more, but there's a lot of teachers that are like, you can't type, you have to write it by hand, and then my handwriting's so shitty, like I can't read it. It's like, pick a lane, lady. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to type it? Shit, it was like-
I'm actually trying. It's hard for me to think of like most of my middle school teachers are actually pretty good. They're pretty cool. I remember my principal, like everyone kind of respected him because he was like a big dude. Like he had Irish roots, and his last name was McKegg, and he was just a big guy. All right,
like strong or like big?
like strong. Like his sons, there were one that was a year younger than me was on the track team in high school, and he won like the state championship for throwing. All right, so these are like strong men. Okay,
They eat their barley.
yeah,
Could he crush a watermelon between his legs?
probably honestly. But I remember one time had to go talk to him because middle school logic. There's this girl that was annoying me a lot, and I called her a psychopath. Okay, I'm sorry. And then she told on me, and I had
A
to go talk
pretty
to the
tame
principal.
insult. Like as far as middle school insults go,
Dude, if I
Could've
have
been a lot
kids,
worse.
I'm gonna load them up with insults, dude. like, if someone even starts to talk shit to them, they're just gonna be able to rattle off 10 different insults. Like, dude, I cannot wait. Like, can you imagine
But-
my freaking 30-year-old brain up against these fucking 11-year-old brains and like just being able to squash them into
children
the
won't have
dirt?
shit on me.
Like, can you imagine, dude? Like, just being able to like brute force them mentally. Like, damn.
Dude, whenever I'd get like bullied a lot in middle school, I'd kind of like be home and be sad about it. And I'd tell my dad, and he'd always be like, "Tell him this," and it was just
Yes.
some super brutal shit.
Yes,
I remember
dude.
one guy. This is devastating in middle school. It's probably not that good now. I remember one guy who'd always like try and like make a joke of like, "Ooh, you want me to kiss you?" or whatever. Like that was like mean, and I like got really flustered by it. And my dad was like, just tell him to kiss your dick. And I did in front of the teacher. And like, I got bullied so much from that guy. She just looked at me, kind of giggled, and walked away. She's like, that's about right. But
See,
I
dude,
just
that's what I
remember his
mean.
face.
That's
I'm
what I
like,
mean.
I was like, kiss my dick. And he's like, what did you just say? No idea how to respond to it.
I said
Gotcha.
smooch it.
Shout outs to my dad for coming up for clever comebacks for me.
I don't know if you guys ever watched the show Blue Mountain State, but there's a bit in it about like how to get out of a fight, which is like you just start yelling, well, how about you jack me off or I'll jack you off right now? And like you start pulling down your pants, jack me off right now, come on. You know, that's how you defuse a fight really fucking quick.
That reminds me of it's not a fight, but in the scene in Tommy Boy Joseph when they're trying to get out the parking ticket or the speeding ticket, so they're like driving pretty quick on the highway, and the police see him and start, flagging him down. And like, shit, we can't get pulled over right now because his buddy's in the.
They're drinking.
Well, the passenger was drinking. He wasn't drunk driving.
Yeah,
But his buddy was drinking, and they had a dead deer in the back of in the back seat for reasons. And they're like, shit, we can't get pulled over right now. He's like, hold on, I got an idea my dad taught me. So they start like swerving a lot more. He's like, what's going on? He's like swerving, and then they pull off into like a cornfield, and the police like park behind them, like, what's going on? And they jump out of the car, start yelling, bees, bees, and start running around. There's bees in the car, bees everywhere. And the cops are like, I'm allergic to bees. Me too. We'll come back for you later, Drive off. So fucking good.
Damn.
I don't know, man. Middle school, like emotionally, like at a little bit more serious level, just kind of sucked because like you're trying to figure out your body's like doesn't know what it's doing, and emotionally it was just like really rough. And I don't know, I just did not have a good time. Like I feel like a lot of people were just like, I mean, they were hormonal and I was hormonal, so like just didn't have. And I was just like, that was like probably the moment when I figured out that like I was like more of like a nerdy archetype. Like that was just kind of where I fell, which is like whatever. Obviously, I'm fine with it now, but like at the time, it was like, oh, no one likes me because I'm nerdy. I remember one guy, he literally said to my face, like, no one likes you. And I just like that's still like that bothered me so much, like all the way through middle school. And now
Because that's all you care about back then is how much.
Right, that's all you cared about. And like looking back on it, it's just like it's so silly how much weight I put on it because it's like, oh, this is all that matters. There's so much that has changed. Like I know where his life's at right now, and I know where mine's at, and I don't give a shit what he said. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I met some of my good friends that can be my friends through high school, like in 6th grade, so that helped a lot. And like, granted, like a lot of it was like, I think much like freaking out about how they were like succeeding more than I was in like the girls and friends department, and just watching that happen. But I still like had them, so like I was generally okay for most of it, thankfully.
Pretty rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I feel like if anyone gets out of middle school unscathed, they were in like
they're
like
lying.
Yeah, like they were either lying, or they were like the type A bully that like just like didn't give a shit, and they just like they were the ones ruining middle school for everyone else.
It's always funny when you're in a group of people talking about middle school and somebody's like talking like that. You're like, wait a second, were you a bully?
Like, yeah, I didn't really get bullied. Like, I just had a great time throughout it. I was friendly. I don't know about that.
And then this one time you like took this kid and gave him like a super wedgie. You're like, wait a second, you were a bully. Like, no, it wasn't.
I stretched it up above his forehead.
What's
they
that
never
from?
realized it.
What?
I don't know, like every kid show ever, the like atomic wedgie or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought there was like a bit where it was like maybe it was like an SNL skit where someone was talking about how they didn't get bullied, and it was something.
Oh,
that sounds familiar. I thought you were quoting it, Jacob.
Yeah.
No, I've had those conversations before. Like at Tech, I remember I was in like a dorm room one time, and it was my roommate, my first roommate, and some of his ROTC friends, and they were talking about like pranks, quote unquote, they pulled in high school. I'm like, no, you're a bully. Like that's not a prank. That is like bullying somebody.
Granted, there are
social
people who are,
experiment.
were dicks in middle school that are like really nice people now. Just I don't know. People handle it so differently. Like
Yeah.
They had an
some
awakening.
Yeah. Same with
Makes
high
you
school.
makes
I
you wonder what
blocked
your
out a
high school
lot of
reunion
middle
is gonna be like.
Dude, fuck high school reunions. Like I don't care at all about most of those people.
Oh,
I
neither
don't
do
know.
I, but I still kind of want to go just to see.
I do just out of like me being like, I don't know,
Cocky.
morbidly curious. No, morbidly curious.
See, I don't
'Cause
want to
there's
be high groundy with it.
Yeah, no, I'm just because my dad, he just did his like 20. I don't even know how fucking old he is. He had a longer one that was more than 5 years, and he said that there's a lot of people that like he was friends with in high school that he's not with now, but there are some people he would never thought that he'd be friends with that he's really good friends with now, and like you just take. He's like he was kind of like a he was like a 90s skater kid or an 80s skater kid or
Mhm.
whatever, and like very socially awkward at the time, and like it's a lot different now, and like it just that would be the most interesting part is seeing like which people you'd be surprised by like that you could get along with, or like I don't know, just seeing like where people are at.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to see those like your school friends, like the people who you only are friends with at school and you never hang out with them, outside of like
Mm-hmm.
being at school. Just see how they're doing and be like, oh yeah, what's up, man? Like it's good to see you. Like I totally forgot about you, but now that I've seen you, I remember all the good times we had. There's like
Yeah,
there's an old skit, I forgot what it was on, but it's like, yeah, school friends versus real friends. Or it's like these girls are like walking out and like talking, and as soon as they cross like the line of campus, they just like break off and like just say nothing to each other. Like that's how it is.
yeah. No, it's definitely a lot of people that you don't really think about until like they're there, and like, oh yeah, we hang out all the time.
Yeah.
Also, like, I think a lot of us, well, all of us, aren't really like in our hometown, so it's like, even when I come to visit, it's like, oh yeah, you exist.
I was gonna say, like the last time I was home, I went to a brewery with my dad, and a guy I graduated with was the bartender, which is like fine. Like I used to be friends with him, in middle school, and we like talked for a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, how's it been?" And is mentioned like, "Oh, you didn't see like on Facebook, blah blah blah." I was like, "Oh, I deleted a lot of people off Facebook a long time ago. Like I have
You didn't
no
make the
idea."
cut.
Yeah, and I was like, "I haven't barely talked to you in high school, let alone after." He's like, "Yeah, no, I don't blame you." And it was just really weird after that. Like, hey, I deleted pretty much everyone from high school on
Yeah.
Facebook. So
Same.
Well, some people want to stay like in their hometown because it's a very comfortable thing. Like they know
oh yeah,
people, and some people are like, "Get me the fuck out."
yeah.
I think it'd be cool.
I'm still a little bit too close for comfort just because on New Year's Eve when Joseph and I went out to a bar, the first bar we went to, I walk in, I see a table full of people I went to high school with. I was like, fuck! Like I don't want. Thankfully they didn't see me and I didn't have to talk to them at all. But I was like, God damn, I would pay money to not have to talk to them. Like, it's just
Yeah.
awkward.
Whenever Patty would come to visit, like my hometown, we'd be driving around, and it's not that big, but it's not that small. But it's a lot smaller than like where she went to school. So there'd be every time we go out, I'd like see someone I know and be like, "Oh, I know that guy. I don't want to talk to him."
Mhm.
She just like, "Oh, do you know this person? You know this?" Like starting to joke. He's like, "No, I just genuinely know this person, and I just don't want to deal with it. Like, can we just leave?"
Because like if you're like if I was in like a reunion setting, that's one thing. But if just like out on the street, it's
Yeah, I
like
don't
I
want to play
don't get
catch up.
thing with you, like
Yeah,
and explain what I'm doing. I don't want to hear what you're doing. Like
I want out.
no, this wasn't my mission for the day. You weren't in my
Right.
schedule.
You're not on the sketty, all right?
Yeah. Just want to get pizza. I don't want to talk to
Go into your life story.
I don't want to go back to middle school right now.
them.
Do you guys have any other like cringy middle school stories you want to get off your chest before we finish up?
Other than I remember this girl I dated, quote unquote, in middle school. My friend, quote unquote, dated her right before I did. And so, like, you know how, like, in middle school, people are too pussy to break up with the person, like, in person. So, like, you'd send your friend to go, like, break up
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them
yeah,
or,
yeah.
that shit. So, like, I was his runner for him, and then he was my
Oh.
runner.
Oh.
And it was like looking back on it, that is the weirdest fucking thing.
Dude, you guys freaking tapped out. You tapped each other out, dude. You were freaking tag team wrestling.
That is like the definition of middle school right there, Joseph.
I know.
It's funny because that was gonna be my embarrassing story. I remember dating someone, quote unquote, and we were in band together, and I remember like walking up to her, and she just like I said something to her, and she didn't make eye contact, didn't say anything, and walked away. And I was like, okay, like whatever. And then like an hour later, her friend came and was like, oh yeah, you guys aren't together anymore. Is this how this works?
All right.
Is this what adult relationships are like?
It's so funny.
Yeah,
dude.
nobody should fucking quote unquote date in middle school.
It's so dumb.
It'll last 2 weeks, and then you're gonna get your heart broken for no reason.
2 weeks is pushing it. That's a long one.
Yeah. There's a lot of faith in them.
Well, thanks for listening to our episode of the Engineers Not Filters podcast tonight. Like I said, you can find new episodes of our show every Monday on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at EWF Podcast. You can follow us on Twitch at EWF_podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.